All right, so here's the outside of the bus. As you can see, we've got a personnel door with a mosaic on it and a keypad, so that's really convenient to lock it. This door has a little latch here where you can hold it open if you need to. If you want around the back, this door, I think it's open. No, I got it locked. I'll show you from the inside. But that'll be like a garage area. So right here is the bed. And so below the bed, you've got a bunch of storage space that you can access from the back. And let's just go this way. It's your fuel tank. I think it's a 50-gallon tank. This is the battery access door. The batteries have died on me, but they're pretty easy to get to. If you're gonna use this long term, you probably want to change the batteries, but I can show you a few options inside as far as how to get around it. So this is just what I'm doing, just jumping it off my truck. If you ever need access to any of the electrical panels, these are all your relays for the 12-volt system. This was completely redone from the original charter bus. So we've got breakers here, relays, and this is basically the kind of the connection point for the 120 volt system. So you can plug a shore power plug in if you're plugging into somebody's house or a campsite or an RV. Everything is wired for a 20 amp 220 or 20 amp 120. So basically a single outlet. You can certainly wire it for a 30 amp or a 50 amp, but basically everything kind of runs off within 20 amps, so it just seems unnecessary. So going around, this is your engine compartment. Don't really need much in there. This is the steps. We've got a little mural in the door, just try to liven it up. This is solid wood flooring throughout the whole bus. And then we've also brought the wood up to the cargo area. And we'll just give you a quick rundown. So these are the original captain's chairs, and it's pretty well done. I mean, we had visions for doing shelves and different systems up here. As far as all the wiring, a lot of the original wiring has been gutted. These wires essentially go to these switches, and a couple of them are active, but not all of them. So they're just kind of left available, and we can help go through what's what as far as hooking up other things. But most of these switches are currently nothing. So flip these and it could throw power up here. So if you want to run interior lighting or any other 12-volt accessories, you just tap into whatever you want, run it, along the system and however you want, either along that way or along that way. So this is the main cabin of the bus. As you can see, we've got 6 seats. They've all got seat belts in them. And then the driver passenger. So we've got 8 different passengers can ride at one time. We've got a little storage closet here. So you can hang some clothes, put whatever other storing things, whether you got towels or extra clothes or just other storage. Here's the bathroom, which is mostly together. The shower pan is complete, and the wall. So we've got stone tile on the floor. It's completely water sealed, and then the drain is already there, and then just galvanized for the walls, and then just a little cedar trim on the top. And essentially we were going to put a outlet here, like a basic simple shower outlet. And then currently that's just a basic basin toilet, but that can be upgraded to anything you want. I mean, it's nothing special. We were basically just using this for emergencies with the kids if they needed to go potty while we were on the road. Going over here, we've got extra storage, just an old cabinet. This is bolted down to the wall, to the floor, and to the wall, so this is not going anywhere. And then each one of these doors has either this clip or these barrel locks to keep it in place while you're driving down the road. And the same thing with these cabinet doors. We've got these little spring-loaded clips built in, and then storage. So you just close it, and it's not going to go anywhere. Likewise with the fridge, it's got a latch screwed in, so that keeps it secured. And the fridge is also bolted down to the floor, and I believe to the cabinet. So that's also, I mean, it's just a couple screws, but it's not going anywhere. As far as the bunk systems, we've got 4 twin size bunks, and each bunk has power outlets. So I've got an outlet, and then it's harder to see. There it is, outlet, and then in the rear, we've also got another outlet for the master sleeping area. So this is I believe a full size bed, and you can see plenty of space to lay this way and have your room. This is the kind of a garage storage area here. So we just got some knickknacks stored, but that's the rear door where you can access the bottom from here. While I'm here, that thing is the heater, and there's another one attached, or that's the main heater option. There's another one here, which basically gets plumbed into the engine, and so if the engine's running, you can use that to heat the bus, and that does an amazing job. That will put out way more heat than you ever need. As far as cooling, we've got basically a roof-mounted Dometic air conditioning system. It's 120 volt main drive. It does need a 12 volt to turn on. So basically you flip it. I believe it's this switch. Flip this on. Here's your thermostat, and it'll run off 120 volt to do the main power. As far as the main power, you've got 2 different options. You got the shore power and inverter. So shore power is, like I said, plugging into a campground or somebody else's home. Inverter is running off the battery, the solar system. So in the back there's the blue battery bank. We've got a solar charge controller here, and then that's the battery management system, and that goes to the inverter. So solar panels are on the roof. That goes through the charge controller, which goes through the battery management system, which kind of just controls those cells and just basically makes it a battery. And from the battery, that's a 12 volt nominal. It goes through the switch and to the inverter. So the point of the switch is to basically switch between the auxiliary battery or the bus 12 volt system. So you could be running independently off the 12 volt battery, or you could run off the bus. And so like if you're driving down the road, you can just use the 12 volt from the bus system to power the inverter and everything, so you're not draining your battery. I've also got it, this switch is connected. If you put it in the back, will connect to the auxiliary and the bus system. I don't like to do that just because I'm not sure if those 2 batteries, if you should connect those together. My understanding is as long as you're driving down the road, it's fine, but it's probably not something you want to get into a habit of doing because the voltage from this battery and the truck battery may be a little different. But if it is charging, as long as you've got 13.5, 14 volts, whatever from the truck, it should be fine. But they also do make charge controllers, which basically go between the 2 batteries, the 2 12 volt systems, and electrically control all that and make sure it's done right. So it's kind of a seamless thing. But I just found it's unnecessary because the solar panels basically do plenty enough to get the job done. As far as solar output, it's 400 amp battery capacity, 400 amp hour battery capacity. This is a 200 amp output BMS. So this is, I think it's a 3,000 watt. So basically what that means is you can get a good, I think it's 18, if not 20 amps, 100% draw off this inverter. And that's more than I can think of needing. I mean, most power outlets are 15 amps. So basically it'll run anything you've got. And that air conditioner is about a 13 or 14 amp draw, and 400 amp hours works to about 4,800 watt hours, which when you convert that over to the 110, basically means you can run, I think it's about 2.5, maybe 3 hours on a 15 amp full draw. So if you're running the biggest appliance you can think of, like that, you can run it for about 3 hours straight solely on a battery charge. The panels, there's 4 panels on top. I believe they're 100-watt panels each, so you got 400 watts of charging power, and that's all done through the charge controller. This has a Bluetooth connector, and then also this has a Bluetooth connector. So there's 2 different apps where you can connect into the charge controller and see how much you're actually charging and outputting, and or if it's charging or discharging, and how that's working, and also get graphs and get nerdy about it if you want. And then you can get similar data from the actual batteries themselves. So that will tell you how much capacity is in the battery, and it gives it to you in a percentage. And it also gives you charge, discharge, how much it's, also how much it's charging in and going out. So if you're trying to charge, you can actually see from 2 different systems how much amps is going in or going out. And then the inverter it doesn't have any Bluetooth thing on there, but it does have this display, which will tell you how many watts. So like 0 watts, basically nothing is on. When the refrigerator kicks on, it'll bump up to, I think, 80 watts or something like that, which is not really much. So we basically keep the refrigerator on all the time, and that's no problem. Like it's never had any issues draining the battery down. So like I said, air conditioner, you can run that for about 3 hours on a full charge. Now, whether your solar will charge that much in a day, I don't know. I mean, if you need your air conditioner for 3 hours, you may not have enough solar to keep that going. But if you just need to cool it off for a little bit, it's effective. For the most part, I would recommend, if you're trying to run an air conditioner, to plug it into a shore power at a campground or someone else's house. But if you are on a cold night, another option is heated blankets. Again, we've got regular outlets at each bunk. So we've had all 5 heated blankets on at one time, all night long. Refrigerator, I think that was it. And it'll drop it down like 15 or 20% of the battery capacity. So there's plenty of room for heated blankets. And to do that, you can see while I'm here, that is the door. I've got the hardware, but that's going to basically be a sliding door here. So basically all that, just the hanging wheel hardware needs to be installed on the door, and then whatever latch system needs to be installed. But that door is going to go right here. All right, so I'm jumping it now, right now. Just connected batteries to battery like a normal charger. If you want to, as far as like backups, if this happens out in the field, there's 3 other options you can do. One is you can get a regular charger, like a 12-volt like battery charger, like overnight, and you can plug it in from the inverter and then connect it to the battery itself, whether that loops around or those wires coming out. These are actually the wires from the truck charger, or from the truck battery. The second option is if you get a 12-volt DC to DC converter that can manage connecting this battery to that battery. And like I said, if you do get that running down the road, charging both batteries from the engine or both batteries from the solar charger would work, because that can handle 2 different 12-volt inputs and then 2 different 12-volt outputs, and then control them all properly. The other thing, which I don't like to do, but it's okay in an emergency, is you can connect the 2 batteries together. So if you flip this switch into the back, that basically directly connects the voltage, the 12-volt positive from this battery bank to the truck battery bank. And like I said, you can work it in a pinch. I just don't like to do it because it is technically different voltage. So you can go from one battery to the next, and in DC battery voltage land, that's not the best thing to do. So I don't really like to do that. So currently I've got my other truck charging this up, and let's see if it'll. So once you got it charged, it runs great. And you can see the tachometer doesn't really work all that well. Sometimes it does, and I don't really understand why. But we've got voltage, we've got oil pressure. Obviously the engine starts great. Here's your gauges on it. So exhaust gas, that's something you're going to want. Like if you're going uphill, you want to keep an eye on the EGTs. And the same thing with the boost. I mean, it only usually goes up to 20 PSI or something like that. EGTs, you may be around 1,000, 1,100, or 9, 10, whatever. And then transmission, 180, 200 is pretty typical. But that's pretty standard gauge stuff. Oh, guess you can change the color. Forgot about that. whatever. But here's your onboard air conditioning system, and it works pretty much like a car. So you turn AC on, off. Here's your valve or your controller between hot and cold. This is the vents for the floor or the head vents. So basically, these vents or this vent. I didn't hook this up yet, but you can control between these or these, and it's likewise the same over here. So basically, one of those tubes or the other tube is your face vents or your floor vents. And then I believe you can also do defrost, because I guess it's this switch to go down to defrost, and then they'll come out the front. So, and then recirc, if you want to do a recirc thing. And that is a brand new vacuum pump on it to control those valves, so that does work properly. And then different airspeed. There you go. The engine, you can access it here, do a lot. This is basically just set on here. It's kind of awkward to get the thing out, but you can have your full access. I mean, the engine's right here. So it's really easy to get to if you need to replace anything. From the front, you can't really get to much. So if you have anything going on with the engine, it's right here. I think it's a 94 or 95 model Cummins 5.9 12 valve. So it's a really, if you know anything about diesel engines, it's a really solid motor. And then an Allison automatic transmission. Here's the parking brake. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it's a little loose. So we just put this here, just kind of a safety factor, especially with kids. They can get knocked. So as far as popping the parking brake off, it's just as simple as that. And here's the selector gear. So with this transmission, it doesn't have a park per se. So you put it in neutral and put your parking brake on. And then as far as, going reverse drive, that's the same as always. Hydraulic brakes, so you don't need a CDL. It's easy. It drives like everything else. It's just big. And I don't know if I mentioned the TV before. The TV is going to stay. That's wired into the inverter. And then if you put a DVD here, you've got an outlet or an HDMI outlet for that. You can also hook up a Wi-Fi system to it if you get a Starlink or whatever like that. It can all be. This is a smart TV. So you get a Starlink up here, you can just Wi-Fi stream whatever you need to do.